welcome back. And in this segment, we're celebrating Taba Liberation Day, which took place on the 19th of March. Actually, indeed, it's a very important day, and it's one of the most significant days in the history of Egypt. Naveen, would you like to tell us more about it, please?
Some would say, Russia, that it's a very tiny piece of land. Why we were that keen to continue with the negotiations and to regain it? We were victorious, and that's enough that we have retaken all Sinai, but we do have a very important special guest, our diplomatic figure, Ambassador Mohamed Shazly, who is going to speak with us in detail about the importance of regaining Taba and also about those behind the camera, the negotiators who did it, and the reasons behind how we are celebrating today the liberation of this dear party of our land, Taba. Ambassador Shazly, thank you very much for being with us first.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you to you.
Good morning. Now, this is actually an important day because, as Naveen said, it's not a matter of a tiny piece of land. Any inch of our land is important. It's our land, it's our sovereignty. So would you tell us, please, about the importance of celebrating today?
I think it's a great day, the great anniversary. It is the day we had completely redressed the setback of 1967, and we regained 100% of our land. Let me tell you that the area of Taba is 1,020 square meters. That is approximately the area of an average football pitch. We regained Sinai, which is 60,000 square kilometers. The importance is symbolic in that Egypt will never relinquish an inch of its land. Our land is sacred. Our land is eternal, and we will never relinquish one iota of our country. I think today is a day to remember the great men who led this struggle and the system that was adopted. We chose the experts.
La crème de la crème, as the French are saying.
Indeed.
And this bundle of having diplomatic figures like Ambassador Hassan Isa, for example, this is only an example, or professors of international law like Dr. Mufid Shihab, historians like Dr. Yunus, you know, Hassan Kamal Ali, also a former Minister of Defense, meaning such a high-ranking armed forces officer. So how do you see the bundle? How do you see the choice of the delegation?
You know, the negotiating for your territory is a very complex operation. There are several aspects. There is the military aspect, there is the historical aspect, there is the geographical aspect. And this is why I'm saying that the choice was very good. You had all the expertise needed. You had diplomats like Dr. Nabil Al-Arabi. You had historians like Dr. Yunan Labib Rizq. You had legal and international law experts like Dr. Hamid Sultan and Dr. Mufid Shihab.
I think Dr. Hamid was the oldest. He was graduated in the 1920s.
No, I think yes, Dr. Hamid Sultan certainly was the oldest. And also there was Dr. Wahid
Rafat. We are going to remember all the names.
I'm not sure which is older, Wahid Rafat or Hamid Sultan, but I think Hamid Sultan is. But I mean, age aside, this is, you know, the
Age means experience, sir.
it means experiences,
but we care about the mentality as
they,
well and the way
they
of negotiation.
were the cutting edge in their fields.
Yes.
And then you had also the military people like General
Hassan Kamal
Ali. And you had
Hassan Ali. Yeah.
Kamal Hassan Ali.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And you had Admiral Abdel Fattah Mohsen. Let me also mention a name that is very dear to me because I had the honor to serve under him, Ambassador
Hassan
Isa. But I wanted to mention Ambassador Mohab Muqbil. Was a great man and a great diplomat. And there were younger people, my generation or even younger, Ambassador Ahmad Fathallah. So it was, you know, and also let me tell you something about Dr. Wahid Ra'fat. Dr. Wahid Ra'fat was in opposition at the time. He was not part of the establishment. He was not part, in fact, he was in opposition to the establishment. So putting him in the team shows that this is a national problem.
Patriotic
not
mission.
A government issue or a party issue. So I think this also was very fortunate. These men deserve to be remembered and honored by Egyptians, and what they have given to their country is a great, great service.
Now, what about the duration of the negotiations and the challenges that they faced?
I think the duration, it took around 2 years, around. The challenges were very great. You know, the cards were not stacked in favor of Egypt at the time. At this time, Egypt was still ostracized from the Arab League and from the Arab community. We did not have the full Arab support. Behind us. There was strong pressure from Western sources. At the time, you know, maybe in the 60s and early 70s, we had support of the Soviet Union. We did not have it at the time. So the challenges were really monumental. And but we rose to the challenge. You know, the whole of Egypt rose to the challenge, and therefore we were victorious in the end.
But what was the main obstacle? I mean, is it the mentality of the rivals, of the other side of the coin, or, as you've kindly mentioned, the pressure coming from outside, or what was the main issue which took 2 years to solve?
The main issue is, I think, the Israeli mentality.
Okay.
That, you know, the issue with Israel is not that it is a country that wants to be recognized and live in peace in the Middle East. No. I mean, had this been the case, the whole issue would have been solved. Because, I mean, Egypt and Jordan, we have signed peace treaties. The Saudis have proposed recently a peace initiative. But no, the Israelis, they want hegemony over the Middle East. They want to be the strongest.
So the atmosphere by then, sir, I mean, even in the diplomatic environment, I would say, was it optimistic? I mean, those who were going through this mission knew that they were going to achieve something, or they went just as this is a noble mission, we are going to do our best, and the result, we don't know anything about it?
No, I think they went with a belief in their hearts that we are going to get our right. And once you believe in your case, you always win your case. And I think there was a very strong belief in in the mission. And in addition to the expertise and the patriotic spirits of those involved, and also, at the time, we have emerged victorious from the 1973 war. This gave a very strong boost to the morale of Egypt as a whole. I don't think that, after 1967, there were several United Nations resolutions, starting with 242, that we should regain our territories back, that it is under the Charter of the United Nations, it is inadmissible to win territories by war and by aggression. But, without the power of the Egyptian army, the Egyptian military forces, the power of Egypt
on the ground,
this, was meaningless. The law has to have a strong hand to implement it.
Yeah. Now, for the negotiations itself, and then, of course, the liberation of the Sinai, which took several stages, and Taba was the last stage. So actually, that was also included in the Camp David Peace Pact, wasn't it?
Indeed, it was. And let me tell you also that several of the people who were involved in the Taba negotiations were involved in the Camp David peace accords, especially Dr. Nabil al-Arabi. He was a pivotal person in the Camp David and the peace negotiations. So it's it's a package. It was a continuous effort which started immediately after the tragedy of 1967. We did not for one moment surrender our right to the territories we have lost. We have pursued the military avenue, and when we have completed the military avenue, we turned to the diplomatic avenue, because they complement one another. You cannot have one without the other.
If I were you, sir, I would ask the foreign ministry to change the day of Egyptian diplomacy from the 15th of March to the 19th of March, because this is another victory, which is, I think, more important.
It's a glorious day, but don't forget that we have chosen the
15th of March
because it is the start of Egyptian diplomacy.
The return, to be
accurate. And let me tell you that the Egyptian diplomacy has continually had great moments and great struggles, starting from the independence of Egypt, the complete diplomacy. Because after the 1922 declaration, there were 4 reservations. There was a continuous struggle by the Egyptian diplomacy. Don't forget the struggle also after the tripartite aggression in 1956. Don't forget the role of Egyptian diplomacy in forming the non-aligned movement. Don't forget the role of the Egyptian diplomacy in forming the Arab League and the African Union, and in spearheading the independence and of African and Arab countries. I think the Egyptian diplomacy has a glorious history.
Of the oldest, first, and it continues till the moment.
Indeed, and I am proud to be a member of this great institution.
Now, actually, this is quite interesting, because although the Camp David Peace Pact had Taba, the return of Taba back to Egypt, it was not until September the 29th of September 1988, when we went to international arbitration, that real solid talks. So actually, that asserts what you're saying, sir, that pacts and accords alone are yes, they are important, but the importance is the political pressure that you exert on the other party to fulfill such pacts, and that's very vivid in what we're discussing today.
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
Regarding the international community by then, sir, how are the media outlets reacting regarding this? Because media is very important, and rumors are very important, and the psychic war is even more important. And of course, it goes without saying that the Egyptians were exposed to psychic war from many Western powers in specific when it comes to a case like that. True?
True, but you know, I think that Egypt now is immune to external psychic psychological warfare. We have been, you know, exposed to psychological warfare since, you know, the 50s, and even before that, you know, before even the 1952, we have been exposed to psychological warfare, portraying Britain as the greatest power, that we cannot obtain our independence, we could not get back the Suez Canal. All this are forms of psychological warfare, and we have, I mean, we have defeated all this. What, you know, concerns me more at this juncture is internal psychological warfare, which is unfortunately coming out from the community, and it is even more serious and severe because of how quickly it can spread through, you know, the social media, the internet, and all these. People, you know, should be very careful about what they share and what they send to their friends and to their colleagues, and think once and twice and 10 times before sending something which can have very negative effects.
Some thinkers and historians, by the way, are saying if this social media outlets were found by the year 1973, we would not do it. We would not make it, be able to make it.
Indeed. You know, in some cases, I would call this kind of media anti-social media rather than social media.
But how can we deal with it? You've mentioned that we have to beware, but do we need to do more social awareness programs? Do we need to monitor certain websites? How can we resolve such threats?
You know, what has been invented cannot be reinvented. You know, the social media, the internet, the Facebook, these are things that have come and we will have to live with them. The most important thing, you know, the social media and the internet could be very positive. I mean, the amount of information you get from the internet is monumental. Monumental. But you have to evaluate the source and to choose what you read and choose what you propagate and send. You know, everybody tells you that reading is a very good habit for youngsters. Not necessarily. I mean, you can read very damaging material. You can read very bad things for you personally and for your society in general. So you have to create an awareness to be able to choose between this and that. And this comes, first of all, through education and through the media. I'm sorry, but I always put more weight on your shoulders than maybe you can carry. But I mean, to be able to lift that weight, you have to train hard, lift weights at home, and buy some dumbbells. But it is very important. I think that the media has a very crucial and critical role, because I mean, if you follow what is being propagated, you will realize the danger and the seriousness of what is being propagated, and how damaging and how corrupting it can be to society.
And from A to Z, I mean, on every single, in every single domain, whether
Indeed.
it's social, it's economic, it's political,
Indeed,
it's whatever.
indeed.
But sir, let me return with you back to our diplomacy, because when we were speaking about those prominent figures who were included into our negotiating delegation ending with the return of Taba, we are speaking about names which will never be forgotten. I beg your pardon. But today is another story. Egypt entered a new era in everything, and our foreign relations are based on mutual respect rather than any other base. How do you see shouldering the responsibility? Because I'm going to take it from you. Our diplomatic figures now, if we are going to go into other case like the one in Taba, for example, this so-called Renaissance Dam issue, who is going to shoulder the responsibility of solving it in a diplomatic manner? Our diplomacy. So do we have the qualified figures as those we were talking about who ended this Taba case with a victory for Egypt?
Let me tell you something. You know, I have great faith in the new generations. You know, I am retired now. In my last service as ambassador, I had within my staff in Khartoum when I was ambassador there, and in the United Arab Emirates, young diplomats who are with every degree better than myself and my generation.
Better?
Yes, and I'm very optimistic that these young diplomats that I have seen and had the honor of leading them at a certain time are going to be great diplomatic figures. There are two issues that I would like to speak to, and I thank you very much for bringing this topic up. There is the issue of morale in the diplomatic
arena.
Circles, arena. Let me tell you something. On the 15th of this month, as you have said, it was Egyptian Day of Diplomats. How did the media cover this? Al-Ahram, which is the top newspaper, mentioned it in a small article in page 8. And so has the other media. If you see the what we call the sovereign agencies in Egypt, the army, the police, the intelligence service, the judiciary, when they retire, they are given decorations.
Yeah.
Ambassadors don't get decorations. Would you believe that?
But
those people, great people of Taba, they finished their mission in 1989. They received decorations in 2014.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Better late than never, of course. And from here, it's our deep appreciation for all what they have done. But in 30 seconds, I'm going to tell you, sir, on behalf of Nile TV International and on State TV, on State Radio, had a very lengthy interview with His Excellency Councillor Ahmed Abu Zaid, the Foreign Ministry spokesperson, speaking about the 15th of March, the Egyptian Day of Diplomacy. And we had these exclusive statements repeated all over the day in all our news and panoramas. So we are trying, I swear.
Thank you.
So Ambassador Mohamed Shazly, thank you very much for your input. As usual, you are enriching our information. And have a very good day, and have a very good day of diplomacy. It's a little bit late, but better late than never.
I'm going to celebrate for the whole week.
Inshallah.
Thank you. And now we will be going out to a quick break, but we'll be back for more on Breakfast Show. So stay with us.